Hey, I'm Mario Goichai, chef and owner of Mr. G's Chop House in Shelby Township. We're located on Van Dyke between 25 and 26 Mile on the west side of the road. Today on Cooking with Mario, we're going to be making a beautiful roasted salmon paired with orzo and spinach. For today's salmon dish, we have a beautiful piece of wild-caught salmon. We also have an orzo, which we're going to toast up with some spinach and cherry tomatoes, a little bit of lemon to finish that dish off. Of course, we have our seasonings, a little bit of avocado oil, salt, pepper, Parmesan, and some chopped up garlic. I'm going to show you how to cook salmon properly. I don't want you to overcook it. I want you to get a nice crust on it. I'm going to show you the way I do it. Salmon's super versatile. You can cook it and you can pair it with 100 different things. We're going to go super simple. We're going to cook off a little bit of orzo, which is just a little grain pasta. It's like the size of like a long grain rice. So we're going to cook that off. We have some boiling water going here. I'm going to drop this in there. So while this is cooking, we're going to prepare the rest of the meal. It's not going to take us very long. So just dropping in the orzo, some rapidly boiling water over here, heavily salted. Going to give it a mix so none of this stuff sticks together. Okay. Now, I got a pan over here. I'm already preheating it. Okay. I can see it's got a little bit of smoke to it. Just going to pull it off for a second. That's almost ready, but I just want to go through the salmon with you. So the way that we're going to cook this is, we have our oven on. The oven's preheated at 400. What we're going to do, we're going to sear the presentation side of the salmon. That's going to give you the nice crust that I think everybody really looks for. It gives you a little bit of crunch, but we're going to make sure that the salmon doesn't get overcooked and stays nice and juicy inside. Salmon has a higher fat content than most fish, so that kind of is why we can roast it at a high temperature. As you can see in the fish, all the lines here, the white, that's all the fat content. So as we're cooking, I'll kind of explain to you what's going on. So we're going to get this pan on, nice hot pan. We're going to use avocado oil because it has a high smoking point, which means that we can cook at a high temperature. Okay, you don't need much. I would say a nice tablespoon of oil. Make sure your pan is nicely coated. Okay, and then we're going to put this in. I patted it dry. You don't ever want to put any wet food or a protein or whatever it might be into a pan like that. So we patted it dry. We're going to season it up. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. You got to season your food. Okay, now we're going to come over here. We're going to put it in the pan. What I want you to make sure that you do when you put it in your pan, I want you to lay it down away from you so you don't splatter any oil towards yourself. So we're just going to go in here gently, nice and slow. All right, we're going to get that back on. I got the temperature, it's about medium high, right in between medium high. So we're going to let that go for a couple minutes. Essentially, you're going to start seeing around it, it's going to start cooking. You'll see it starting to change color there. And as soon as we notice some nice caramelization going on, that's when we're going to want to turn it. We're going to flip it and we're going to pop it into the oven at that 400 degrees. It doesn't need to cook for very long. We don't want to overcook it. The way that you can tell that salmon is overcooked is either it's shrunk too much and it became very firm. And you can also see when I talked about those lines of the white, fat inside, as it's cooking, it'll all start coming out. So if the fat is coming out of the salmon, it means that it's just squeezing itself. It's cooking too much, it's squeezing itself, and all that moisture is coming out. We don't want that. We kind of want a nice gentle cook on it. So because this pan was nice and hot, you can see that it's not sticking. That's another important thing. We had the dried off salmon. You want to make sure it doesn't stick. I'm just going to test this here. I want to see what the color looks like. Okay. I'm going to give it a few seconds there. We're going to take that out. I like to get rid of the oil that's in there, so I'm just going to spill this oil out. It doesn't need it while it's roasting in the oven. Okay. Just going to give this a flip. Okay. Now, as you can see, we have a beautiful color on this. not overcooked, no black, you know what I mean? Nice and golden. And it's not sticking. And we don't have a lot of oil. Okay? You're not frying this. You're just gonna let it roast in the oven now. So we got, like I said, 400 degrees. We're gonna pop this in now, okay? You can already see, actually, let me show you before we put it in the oven. You can see that that layer that was face down, the presentation side, has already cooked about a 1/4 inch all the way through. So essentially, we're just gonna let it cook in the oven slowly and just, you know, cook all the way through now. So we're gonna pop this in. I would say probably 5-6 minutes, it's ready to go. Okay? Now, this orzo pasta, let me check it out. See where we're at here. I'm sure it's getting very close. Say we got about another 2 to 3 minutes on this. So now we're just gonna make sort of an accompaniment for the salmon. We're gonna go with a little bit of olive oil. Okay. We have olive oil here. We're gonna heat that up, warm it up a little bit. We're gonna throw in these cherry tomatoes, and I just sort of wanna blister them, you know, pop the little exterior of the skin out, give it a little bit of roasted flavor. So we're gonna let these cook off a little bit. The reason I just wanna kind of break the skin and blister it is because I don't want the cherry tomatoes to cook all the way through. I just want to get a quick sear on it. That way they still have a nice firm bite to it. We're going to add a little bit of garlic here. We're going to throw in some spinach, and then we're going to toss some of that orzo into this and toss it all up. So it's just kind of like almost just like a one-pan dish that we're getting ready here. We're going to finish it off with a little bit of Parmesan cheese to kind of bind it all together, give it some nice saltiness, some good flavor. Okay, so you hear that? Cooking, you got to use all your senses. I wasn't looking at the pan, but I already know what's going on. I can hear the skin popping. It's giving a nice sizzle. Okay? So, that sounds really good. I see the skin's popping, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. I don't want to really get much color on this. Doesn't really need too much color. Smells amazing. It's all coming out. I can smell the tomato now. Smell the garlic, the olive oil. It smells wonderful in here. So what we're gonna do now, as soon as you see your garlic starting to get some color, that's when you wanna add your next ingredient. It helps cool the pan down. It helps stop cooking the garlic. It helps stop the whole cooking process. Okay? So we're just gonna toss this. You're not really looking to cook the spinach. It's just gonna wilt in there. So we're not really trying to like cook it all the way down. Still like to have a nice little texture to it. Over here, we're gonna check on the orzo now. So this orzo is looking good to me. Just gonna strain it right here and go right into the pan with it. Okay, so we're gonna add some of this orzo. Turn this one off. Okay. Now all this beautiful aroma, smells, flavors, textures. So our salmon's gonna be nice and beautifully cooked. It's gonna have that nice crisp on the top. It's gonna have a nice orzo to go along with it. Nice pop from the cherry tomatoes. Beautiful aroma from the garlic. This is like an amazing dish, and you see how quick it is. We're making it very easy for you guys. No excuses not to try this recipe. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna do a little bit of Parmesan cheese. It's gonna kind of help bind everything, just pull it all together. I'm gonna get that heat off, doesn't really need any more. Okay, a little bit of Parmesan here. This is looking good, smelling good. I already know it's gonna taste good. So here we go, we're gonna plate this up. So essentially you got everything here. You got your veg, you got some dairy, you got some starch, protein's coming now. This is a complete meal. All right, this is looking good. That's perfect right there. If you can zoom in on this, you see that tiny little speck over here? That's exactly what I was talking about. If I kept this in there for a few more minutes, more of that fat would have came out and then the salmon would have gotten dry. But this is coming out at the perfect time. The food tells you everything. You just gotta pay attention to it. You gotta listen to it. You gotta talk to it sometimes. You gotta tell it how good it looks. Look at that. Now this is a beautiful dish. If you like lemon, which a lot of people love lemon with their seafood, we're gonna place that here. I'm really happy with this. This makes a wonderful dinner. It was super easy to make. I really hope you try it, and if you do try it, let us know how it came out. Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today on Cooking with Mario. On today's episode, we made a beautiful seared salmon with orzo and spinach. I hope you guys really loved it. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching today, guys. If you like what you saw today on Cooking with Mario, go ahead and follow us, the Mitt TV on YouTube. Click on the notification bell and subscribe. I hope to see you again soon on Cooking with Mario.